Well, hello, welcome to the live stream. Haven't done one of these for a while, and in this one, we'll be discussing what we've been watching and also discussing about what movies we just don't see why they get the hype and why people like them. So, how's life been going for you, Lou?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Yeah, been real busy. Haven't been watching as many movies and TV shows as previous years. The movies are way down. I think last year I got 150. This year I'm struggling to hit 30.
Why do you think that is? Do you think that's because of movie fatigue for this year, or you just wanted to achieve a new goal?
I think it was probably a bit of that. I think last year I watched far too many movies, and then now this year I've kind of like a hangover from that, watching too many. And there hasn't been a whole lot of movies that have excited me. Like there's been, I've been to the movies way less, and I've watched significantly less movies at home. And I don't know. I'm happy with this choice. I felt that last year was a chore. I think I watched movies for the sake of it, and I saw a lot of garbage because of it. So pretty happy with my choice to not try and watch as many this year. I set a goal. I wanted to try and watch some
Classic
movies, and I can report that I watched 0 of those. I haven't watched a single one of my movies I had on the classic list, which is sad.
Surely you can watch at least one by the end.
Yeah, I know. I should do that. And in terms of shows, I've watched probably about the same as I did last year. Oh, maybe even a little bit more. But again, I'm happy with my choice. I've kind of binge watched a couple of new comedy series that were new to me. They're definitely ones that have been out before, and yeah, so that's about it. So tell me, what have you been watching?
Well, I've actually been sick, unfortunately, so I've actually watched a lot more than I normally had. So I've watched a show called The Pit, what's a medical drama. And what's interesting about this show is that all 15 episodes go for 1 hour increments, and it's actually only season 1 is actually only day 1 of the new people that start off shifts. So season 2 I think will not do the same thing, but very much enjoyed season 1 with how they decided to tell that story, because it shows, even I don't think normal day hospital would go through, because in just one day there happens to be a mass shooting, there happens to be someone that passed away because he loses like brain function, and a lot of stuff happens in this one day. But it shows that anything can happen when you work in a hospital, and just shows how amazing what they go through in this job field.
Okay, and what's your rough rating on it so far out of 5?
Finishing it, probably 8.
Okay, so out of 10, so give it 8 stars out of 8 out of 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Best thing you watched this year, you reckon, so far, TV wise?
Not best, but one of around there.
Okay. Have you got anything else coming out that you're looking forward to seeing?
Probably Fallout.
Yeah. Oh, so that is coming out this year, new season.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's coming out quite late. Did you you watch any Peacemaker yet?
Yes, I watched the first episode. It's definitely a bit rough, but I'm curious to see how they implement the new multiverse.
Yeah, I'm 1 episode behind out of the latest releases of it. I'm enjoying it. I think it's quite a fun show. It's very, it knows what its audience wants, and it just continues to give it to it. And, I guess it can just be wild and stupid, and that's kind of fine. So it's kind of a good mixture. So I'm happy with that. I've also started watching Chad Powers, which was one of my most anticipated shows for the year with Glenn Powell. So enjoying that. I am a fan of a sports movie or show, and it's a bit of a comedy. There's a lot of I think it's an easy watch, so I recommend it so far. After 2 episodes, to most people, being quite an easy watch, and it's not too complex, and it's a little silly, but not too silly. So I think it's worth watching. You reckon you'll give it a watch?
Yes.
been watching anything else. I've been smashing through The Neighbourhood.
Mm.
So I'm into the most recently released season of The Neighbourhood, with the next season coming out in like less than a week. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, the last movie I watched was The Naked Gun, which I really liked. It was just a dumb spoof movie. It was how it should be, but was it good? Not really. Was it funny? Yes. So I enjoyed that.
Do you think Liam Neeson suited the role? Because I picture him not normally in that sort of role.
No, I think it does. I think he perfectly suits. I think he is. I don't know. He's played so many iconic roles in his life, but I also think he can just play silly comedy. I think he's just a very good actor. So yeah, I did enjoy Liam Neeson in that. What else have you been watching?
I've also seen a movie called Weapons, and it's actually cracked into my top 5 at number 5, and it's dropped off Sinners. To me, what it does better is that it sticks to the horror element with these 17 messing kids, and we don't know why. All we know is that they do this freakish run for whatever reason. And then what it does amazingly is that it goes from different perspectives throughout people through town. It starts off with the teacher, who is played by someone in Ozarks, and she is also the female Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four First Steps. So it starts off with her being accused, parents not liking her as much. And then it starts off with Josh Brolin, who plays Thanos, and he's kind of the side of being the parent going through the trauma, sleeping in the child's bed. So seeing that dynamic and seeing the perspectives, the principal, the police officer, someone being a meth head, and also the one surviving person that was in the classroom. Such a movie that I didn't expect to enjoy, and it was actually pretty hilarious with what happened at the end. I would definitely recommend watching it if you want to watch a horror movie.
Okay, not often you hear a horror movie say it was funny and be good, well rated. Like I've seen some horror movies that are funny bad, so it has this stay scary but remain funny.
That would be spoilers,
okay,
because it's near the end.
Okay, interesting. So for a horror, for you to think a horror was pretty good makes me think it was decent, because you're not the biggest fan of horror films.
Yes.
So okay, I've seen it come up advertised, and then you told me about it the other day in the car, so might have to go check that one out. Anything else you've been watching before we move into the topic you wanted to discuss?
I've also watched a show called The Guest. It's a British show, and it was a decent show. It was about this rich female bringing the cleaner, and it's a cat and mouse sort of show, and it was a fun watch. I only went for 4 episodes, but the thing I didn't like particular is that there's this scene when the cleaner is being chased by police because the police suspect that she killed the husband, and then the police are trying to catch her. And I don't know England that well, but she just happened to live at the exact spot where a rugby game was happening, or a soccer game against Australia and England or Wales, so that kind of took me off, but it was a fine watch.
Okay. The only other thing I can think of that I watched was I finished Eastbound and Down. So this is a show that finished, I think, about 10 years ago. Had 4 seasons. It's about like a disgraced baseball player. It's just really crude and a bit wild. I laughed at it at times, but I don't think I'd ever rewatch it. And there wasn't that many fun. Like in total, it probably has 10 or so quotable moments or like little scenes that are really hilarious. But out of this, I think out of 30 episodes in total, to have, only a highlight reel of about 10 things that was generally funny, pretty disappointing. Starring and written by Danny McBride, who's in Righteous Gemstones and a whole bunch of movies. Very funny guy. I think it was probably much funnier at the time, but now I think its crudeness is kind of not that surprising. I think after you've seen a few things that Danny McBride's in, you're so used to it, so it like lost its sting. So Eastbound and Down, decent. Don't know if I'd recommend it to people that haven't already seen it, and yeah, I don't think I'll rewatch it. Maybe like 3.5 stars out of 5. Like it was just good enough. So,
what's the concept of how the comedy works?
So he's a disgraced baseballer because he just does wild shit. Says racist things, like gets naked here, and drink drives, does drugs, and he just always does dumb things and says just wild shit. I don't know. I can't really think of a way to give you good examples of it, but it's just basically he's like a redneck, and he's just a good, became famous at baseball, but just no one likes him. Like every team he leaves, he was a part of. He left because he punched the shit out of another player or abused a fan or did something dumb. And the whole point is he's just always partying and doing something wild. And the whole series kind of follows him either being in love with his ex-girlfriend and wanting her back, and then to, him not wanting anything to do with her, and she wants a divorce. And yeah, it just goes through him going through having lots of money and having no money to then being rich again. And yeah, I don't know. I think maybe a season or 2 was funny. Then after that, it just became the same thing on repeat. Yeah, so it was okay. It just has a lot of clips and memes that are famous, probably more famous than the actual show.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's probably the only other thing I've watched and finished. Started The Bear, watched 2 episodes of that. I'm kind of bored, which is sad because I love The Bear. So I will persist and see if it ramps up for the rest of the season. The next show I'm intrigued to... I've been watching Platonic. That's been pretty funny. So I wondered how season 2 would work after season 1. It's very good. I'm enjoying season 2.
Still going strong?
Still going strong. The next comedy show I think I'd like to take on and watch by myself is maybe the Detroiters, which is a Tim Robinson show. So I'd like to watch that. So that's on my list. And then I've heard that a show it might be called The Tires or The Tire Shop, a Netflix show with what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. If you've seen him, he's like this big, giant, tall comedian. He hangs out with Theo Von a lot. He is in this show, and apparently it's quite good. So looking forward to it. That'd be on the list. So it's between that and watching The Detroiters. I always like to have a sitcom that I can or a comedy I can just chuck on and watch, mindlessly. So it's going to be one of those 2.
What's the different humour between those 2?
To be honest, I haven't seen either of them. I just know, based upon Tim Robbins' other stuff, I Think You Should Leave, which is a show I really like. That's more of a skit comedy show. If it's anything like the comedy he has in that, I think I'll find it really funny. So it's usually just shock and random. It's usually just stuff so far out of left field that shocks you, and that's his comedy style. So yeah, thinking something. If it's like that, I'll really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to move into our main topic that we want to discuss?
So the main topic today is talking about movies that are overhyped or people just enjoy it and we just don't get it. So we are talking about those sort of movies and I guess shows as well. So what's your first choice, Luke?
The first one that comes to mind would probably be Avatar. So I think Jacob and I both are in the same boat with this.
Indeed.
When it first came out, didn't think much of it. Couldn't care much for I saw through the 3D, so that came out at the height of when 3D in cinemas was the big deal. And I just really thought that this is just a average story set in space, and it's not like it's something we'd never seen before. I understand, when Star Wars came out, people were blown away. They'd not seen something like this, but Avatar, we've seen lots of space stuff. It wasn't that new of a concept. It's kind of a rip-off of Pocahontas. There's lots of things about it. I just thought this movie is just okay, but it just continued to break box offices, and still people today talk about it being the best movie they've ever seen. And I don't get it. I don't see what people are seeing that I didn't. To me, it is just a very average sci-fi movie. What are your thoughts on Avatar?
I agree with that. I think people have been fooled. I don't know on purpose, but I think they look at the movie by its graphics and its CGI, and to me, I don't get fooled by it, because to me, the story means more than the filming and the cinematography, and that's why Avatar hasn't fooled me. Because when you look at it in two movies, I bet you if you ask someone, what's the story of Avatar, they'll be like, humans fighting the Pandora and for resources. It's like, that's not really a grand story.
Yeah, well, the only thing worse than Avatar 1 was Avatar 2.
Yeah.
I actually think it managed to get worse. Mainly because Avatar 2, yes, it visually looked cool, but the movie really had no story to it, or the story it did have to it could have been sent in an email. It didn't need to be a whole movie. It was just 3 hours of underwater CGI, which just doesn't impress me. I think I'd much rather watch a David Attenborough documentary and see the real world and how beautiful it is than seeing a made-up world. You're getting blown away by the graphics of a place that doesn't exist. They could make anything happen. So of course, that's a bit weird. Camera is freak out, flip itself. Yeah, so I don't quite get that. Okay, what's a movie that you just don't quite get why people think that's amazing?
So for me, I'll start off with a movie that got all this hype, all this build-up, popcorn flying all over everywhere. For me, it's Minecraft. I didn't see it in the theaters. I saw it at home, and for me, it's a complete rip-off of Jumanji, and it's definitely, in my opinion, one of the worst movies, and I don't get how it made all of its money and how people enjoyed it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought it was a really boring, bad story. I think adult fans of Minecraft could see through that and think it was rubbish. I can see why kids liked it because it was, a simple concept. I think it created a meme culture, with the whole popcorn thing. But yeah, I think overall, because I've spoken to a lot of people that agree, but then I also speak to a lot of people that go, nah, it's a good movie. It's if you think that Minecraft's a good movie, you don't like movies. There's nothing about it that could justify it as being a good movie. Bad acting. The only thing that I liked about it was maybe the jingle. I don't mind the Lava Chicken song. It gets stuck in your head. But beyond that, every part of that movie was just so average. And for someone that doesn't play Minecraft, I couldn't see one thing to like about it. So, for a movie to be good, I think it needs to bring in more audience than just the people that already love the IP, which is the game. So, yeah, I think it is extremely overhyped.
Yeah.
Okay, next one to me. A movie I think it's overhyped, kind of similar with the popcorn and with Minecraft. The movie that kind of became a meme culture at the cinema is, I'm going to go Despicable Me. The Despicable Me and the Minion franchise, I understand they're for kids, and my son likes it, but it's not his favorite thing. But every time I've watched it with him, and I'm a fan of cartoons. I grew up watching cartoons. I still love a cartoon film. To me, I'm just like, this is pretty stupid. This guy was a super villain.
Bursting out the villain.
He stole the moon. If you steal the moon, the world stops working. You can't take the moon. That's not possible. I know it's a cartoon, but and then his job is to like work for the anti-villain league to stop other villains. So we live in this weird world where there's like villains, but they're not like that bad.
The anti-hero.
Yeah, and then and then he just has minions, and like no one really questions where they come from and what they do. I think, to me, again, I'm not saying it's bad. I think it is overhyped because people think the minions are cute and funny, and it just skyrocketed the success of this movie, which is a shit movie with little funny yellow characters. Like, really, you remove those yellow characters, that is a terrible movie.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess they started making the Minion spin-offs, because they knew that the Minions are what the people wanted. But I think the Minions is extremely overhyped. It's a very, very average cartoon, but it is I think the latest one made $1 billion at the box office. Like, that is not $1 billion film.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the Minion?
I agree with Despicable Me and the Minions. I've only seen the first one. The first one was pretty good, but it's not as iconic as Toy Story, Cars, all the legendary cartoons that me and Luke grew up with. And I don't know, I feel like Despicable Me, people just see them for the Minions, and the Minions just talk gibberish anyway, so it's kind of just, I don't know. I definitely given up on the franchise, and I only watched the first one.
Yeah, I think there's a trend here with these movies where picking are ones where people are caught up on the cuteness, or caught up on like the gimmicky thing. So this isn't a movie that I think's overhyped. Like, I really like it. Is the Guardians of the Galaxy. That it kind of got on my nerves a little bit, the amount of bandwagon fans that jumped on board because of Groot.
I am Groot.
So, like, again, like, I'm glad that didn't go ballistic, but I think that Despicable Me is kind of that. Films are finding this, this formula of, let's chuck in this cute little thing and people will latch onto it, which I think is going to stem onto another movie that I know that you want to talk about that is overhyped.
Yes, so for me, my next one is Superman. So I don't think it's as bad as Minecraft or Despicable Me, but for me, I just think it proves to me that James Gunn needs someone else to be the writer, or just someone else to just say, hang on, we need to think about what we're writing, because like what Luke said, Crypto is just another Iron Groot, or just a cute factor, because the movie is a print copy of Guardians of the Galaxy, and the writing to me is not, it's a very fun movie, and that's the only thing that I like about it. And Superman, I do like the actors that play Superman and Lex Luthor, but it just felt like to me that the hype train for the movie isn't well deserved, and the writing, I still bring up the scene when Superman was caught with, or in prison with, I can't remember the creature, or when they were caught up, and then when that person got shot and he got so upset about it, to me that writing was kind of off. But Superman is a fine movie, but I just don't really get the hype for it compared to other superhero movies.
I'm a bit on the fence with that. I really liked the Superman film. I didn't realize it was over. Like, I didn't realize lots of other people agreed and thought it was good. I thought it had negative press, but it seems like people did like it, and it did pretty well at the box office. My only criticism is I don't know if it seemed like James Gunn made the movie people wanted to see. They wanted, or that needed. He's realised that this comedic relief is kind of the formula, but I don't know if that discredits Superman. To me, Superman is, the pinnacle of heroes. He represents all things that are good. He's the picture perfect boy. He doesn't do anything wrong. Batman's a bit unpolished and like plays by his own rules, but Superman's always the Straighty 180, and then James Gunn has introduced his like comedy world. You know, like it felt very Peacemaker-esque. Where I like Peacemaker, but that's because it's like gimmicky and silly. Like I thought that some of the heroes that he brought into the Superman movie was a bit gimmicky. I thought Superman deserved more. Like I was just like, it just felt that was a bit gimmicky. I still very much liked it, but I think does Superman need to be serious? I don't know if I know the comedy relief is what people liked, but in my opinion, like, is that disrespectful? Because we saw what happened with Batman in like the 2000s and the late 90s. We went George Clooney comedy route, and that died off. And look what people tend to like now. Batman is dark and broody because that's what he's meant to be.
Yeah.
And is Superman, do we really want him to go down this joke route? Like, does that make sense that you have a superhero that has the power to do almost anything mucking around? Like, I think he needs to be serious. Like, even when we saw James Gunn with the Justice League and we had, he did write the Justice League. No, did he? No,
that was
Zack Snyder, sorry. But that direction they went, we had the Flash that was meant to be a little bit funny, but then Superman was still serious. I think maybe Superman has to be serious. So I liked it as a movie, but has it got a second movie in it, a third movie? Like, how long can we have Superman being a bit of a clown? And I think he needs to be serious. So it just doesn't work in that sense for me. So love the movie, but I agree with what Jacob's saying. I think it was a bit gimmicky, and I can see why you don't get it. And I also don't get it, but I also get why people like it because I'm one of those people that did like it. But I don't think he's built a world that can have a second, a third, a fourth movie. Yeah. I know we will get it, but what happens when he takes on a real serious villain? Like, I just don't know if it will work. And I think, even chucking in, the Green Lantern, they just went that real joke comedy style just so it could start to link into this Peacemaker world. And it wasn't. I think it's a good move for one movie, but I think it's a bad move for a franchise.
Yeah.
Okay, another movie I think that's overhyped. This could be controversial, but I think The Godfather. People regularly put it at number 1 or 2 on their list of best movies ever. I watched it and I was bored shitless and was like, what do people see about this? Like about this? I think maybe even at the time it came out, maybe people thought it was great, but the fact that it continues, I don't know if it's like this kind of hype thing that people don't like, if the generation before you said, The Godfather's the best movie ever, do you just jump on board and keep saying it and you never want to disagree?
Mm.
They go, well, my dad said it was the best movie ever. Maybe it is the best movie ever. And, if Leonardo DiCaprio or someone in the know says it's the best movie ever, maybe people start going, maybe I just don't get it. I'll agree. Like, it's the best movie I've ever seen. And, no one wants to speak badly of it. I just thought it was really, really boring. And compared to modern day mob movies, garbage, to be honest.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's my thought. I think I don't get why it's loved.
Yes.
Yeah. What else?
So my next one, and I'm surprised Luke hasn't brought it up, and I love this movie, but unfortunately it's been taken out of my top 5 list, and that's Sinners. And it's basically so many movies in one. It's a vampire movie. It's an action movie. It's a musical movie. It's a history into Black history movie. It's a musical movie. It's so much into the one recipe that it doesn't know what it wants to be. And I'm sorry to say it kind of fails as a vampire movie, kind of fails as a history movie, because I watched 12 years of slavery, and that did a better job. So I think it needed to stick to one thing of either being a vampire movie or being more of a history movie and bring in the mafia and all that stuff. It just tried to do too much, and that's why for me, Weapons took over that horror position, because I love being original and trying to go in and trying to outdo yourself, but that's why Sinners, to me, it's a beautifully acted and told and seen, but to me it falls flat, and that's why I think it's overhyped, because it's it's definitely been hyped up in a certain community.
Yeah, I did enjoy the movie. I think that the vampire part was silly and the worst part of it. But overall, I was on the edge of my seat, really enjoying what was going on with the Black History stuff. I think that kind of like musical scene where they went back in time and forward in time was a bit weird. I get it, but I also think it didn't need to be there. But yeah, I feel like it's a movie that no one wants to say it's bad.
Mm.
And I'm not saying it is bad, but there's just no criticism. Like every time I bring up and go, the vampire part was a bit shit, wasn't it? Everyone goes, no, it's the best part. It's like, surely there's someone else out there that agrees that it was the vampire part was a bit shit, but no one wants to say it. Like it's not racist to say you didn't like the vampires.
Mm.
I think the Black History stuff and all that was amazing. I would have rather have just seen a movie on that. I just thought the vampire stuff was unnecessary. It was like, I don't know, it's like you either have two ideas and you merge them together, or they go, we want to make a movie about Black history, but we don't think people will see it. Why don't we have vampires? Like, I don't know. I think that it would have been more impactful if this movie was about the mafia and the Klan, and it was, but not enough. And I think the vampire part either needed to go harder or removed it all. It was like a soft introduction to the vampires, and I thought that was odd for a movie that, if that was the main focus point, why did it get so little, focus?
Yeah. And why did the Indian tribe just not come back?
Yeah, again, I think that was interesting. I think a few editing changes and tweaks, this movie goes from, for me being a, here to up there. I think it did all the hard stuff well, but then then it changed the formula with, I just think it needed a few tweaks, and it could have been a much, much better movie.
Yes.
I don't really have any other ones I think that are hype. I'm sure I could come up with a long, long list if I thought hard enough, but they're probably the ones that, at the most, I guess I also don't enjoy being negative. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on everything. These are just movies that I think are, universally loved, but I don't quite get where the love comes from. I'm sure there's a lot of movies that I like that you probably think you don't understand why they're loved. One that comes to mind, I think people would think of, is Happy Gilmore 2.
Haven't seen that.
I personally really, really liked it, but I can see why people would have talked shit about it. I think it was a movie for the golfers of the world and the fans. But yeah, I think if you're not a golfer or you're not like a crazy Happy Gilmore fan, it was like this movie was stupid. But I can see why that would be a movie that people would say, this is hyped, I don't get it. But I'm part of that group, and like I know why I get it, because it was made for me. It wasn't made for everyone else. Yeah.
So when it comes to TV shows, I think that are overhyped. I think Game of Thrones comes to mind, and even the audience fan base thinks the ending's bad. So that's even true when it comes to the audience, because they didn't even like their own ending. So what's the point even watching it, because they don't even think it's worth watching. So for me, I'm up to season 2, but I don't think I'll ever continue it, because the fan base even says, oh, the ending's bad, there's no point watching it. So I think it's the most overhyped show, but the fandoms don't even think it's worth watching.
Yeah, I think it came out at the right time. It was at a time when streaming still wasn't quite at where it is now. So, people would have viewing parties because they'd, watch it on Foxtel or whatever, or HBO in America. So I think it was lucky, and that kind of, it was the last of those like water cooler shows where people would talk about it around the water cooler at work. I think if it came out today, I don't think it would have the success. I think it would just blend in, it'd just be white noise. I admit I haven't watched any of it, but the premise of it does not sound at all appealing. And the amount of friends and people I know that got obsessed with it is odd, because I've not seen that obsession with other shows, but it created some kind of crazy fandom. And where is it now? You don't hear anyone talk about it.
No.
You know, I think of a show like, whether you love it or hate it, Seinfeld or Friends or Becker or Frasier, people still watching that. Like that gets talked about. There's, you know, new fans that every day. I see it's popular amongst even young teenagers now. Like, I just don't know anyone that's getting into Game of Thrones. I think it had its moment and it's gone. So I don't get its overhypeness, and maybe it just became one of those things of, you know, oh, I don't want to be the one that misses out if everyone's talking about Game of Thrones and I didn't watch it, because I didn't watch it and I didn't feel left out. So maybe people felt left out and they hyped it up more.
Yeah.
Can I think of a show that I think's a bit like that? Show that's a bit hyped up. I don't know if it's hyped up, but I didn't think Ozarks was that good, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
But I don't think that was like crazy popular. But out of a lot of the things that Jason Bateman's in, I thought that was one of the things I disliked the most. So that has a lot of fandom, and again, it's kind of like faded off. So I thought that was just like a bit of a Breaking Bad ripoff. But Breaking Bad's a bit in that same boat. I did enjoy it, but I don't know if I could care less to watch it again. It's kind of like a one-watch show for me. But yeah, I don't know if Breaking Bad's overhyped. I think a lot of people admit that maybe it's just one of those epic experiences that you watch once and you don't re-watch. Any other shows you can think of?
Part of me thinks Seinfeld, but I don't know if a lot of people talk about Seinfeld because that ending, but Seinfeld for me.
I like Seinfeld, but I do also question how it got to the level of fame it did.
Yeah.
It's it seemed like one of those things that people would have just given a miss, but maybe again it was a lucky timing. It came out in a time and place when people would sit down and watch shows as a family, you know, not saying it's necessarily a family show, but it'd be kind of an event that you'd watch at night. Maybe it was just a bit different than what we'd seen. But yeah, it's also the height of sitcoms. You know, that was a time where, you know, sitcoms were the go-to, where I feel like now people are more into like crime, true crime, drama, you know, teen drama, where that was like sitcom central, and people were kind of obsessed with this idea of, and I know this is kind of the definition of a sitcom, but anything that focused around a setting, whether it's Cheers in a bar, whether it's Becker, it's the coffee shop, or, you know, Frasier was it, I don't know, did that have a central location, or was it just their apartment?
I had a couple of locations. Frasier. It had their local coffee shop. It had his apartment. It had his radio.
Yeah, and like Friends, you know, focused around the coffee shop. I think, and yeah, like, I think those were at its height, and then we started to get towards the tail end where a show like How I Met Your Mother was successful, but now the sitcom has kind of died off. So I think that was just at the height when sitcoms went berserk, and, you know, it started the whole $1 million an episode thing, and you know, we're sadly kind of past sitcoms. I don't know if there's many coming out, and I think the formula that makes a sitcom successful, people are done with. So I think you know, Friends is very similar to Seinfeld, and How I Met Your Mother is almost a copy of Friends, and, you know, I think Big Bang Theory was similar, but then a bit different because it was nerd culture. And it's like, where do you go now if you were to try and attempt another sitcom? I think you're going to struggle. I think people are a bit over it. So, like a sitcom I'm watching at the moment, The Neighbourhood, which I quite like, is again, I think that's having some success because it's kind of niche towards a black community. You know, like it focuses a lot on black main characters. It goes through a lot of black issues throughout, but then it also like has the appeal to like the white fan base, and I think that's where it finds its uniqueness. But yeah, I think sitcoms are again they might be a thing of the past. I think we're moving beyond them.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay, I can't think of any other overhyped show.
I don't know if Luke will agree with me with this one, but my next one would be 13 Reasons Why. I really enjoyed season 1, and then from there I kind of just dropped off of the show. It's a very popular show about someone committing suicide. Season 1's great, but from there kind of not that interest, kind of lost interest in it, and I from there kind of didn't see the hype.
I really like 13 Reasons Why. I think the first season earned its hype, so that's where it got to. I think most people can agree that from there it kind of fizzled out. Each season got worse and worse. The last one was not too bad, but yeah, I think it was a product of its own success. I think it was probably intended to be one season.
I think so.
And it got so popular, they're like, oh shit, where do we go? And then it just kind of got a bit wild. So I think 13 Reasons Why was a one season limited series kind of thing, I think it's perfect. It would have been one of the best limited series I've ever seen. But they did unfortunately drag it on because of its success. So don't know if it's overhyped. I reckon a lot of people have that similar opinion. Season 1 for sure is not overhyped. If anyone thinks that the overall series was really good, then I think you're kidding. I think it did get a bit shit, but season 1 was fantastic. So I would like to go back and rewatch the first season, 13 Reasons Why. I think its formula is very unique.
Yeah, with the tapes and everything.
And each episode kind of focusing on one person. I think it was a very, very unique concept. And I think it has a lot of legs. I think it's something you could rewatch and, you know, even people in 10, 20 years' time to revisit. Because I don't think anyone's going to copy that formula. I don't think you can. I think if you try to copy it, people go, we've seen this before. It's like you're just actually just stealing an idea here. So, yeah, very much look to one day revisit and watch that again.
Yes.
Okay. I got nothing else to say. What about you? We're coming towards a close.
Any other movie or show that you're looking forward to watching?
Continue watching Chad Powers. You mentioned Fallout comes out this year. I thought it was next, so looking forward to that. I must say I've sadly not been on top of what's coming out for the rest of the year because I kind of just assume that it's all about to fizzle out. I would like to see The Hurt Machine, the new Rock movie, so I'm looking forward to that. So I don't know when that comes out. I think it's quite soon. So that's probably one of the movies that I'm looking forward to coming out soon.
Well, thank you for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. And as always, you are awesome. And like and subscribe and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.